I'm excited to share this project with you. This video is going to be all about me cleaning up my antique Finnish spinning wheel and getting to spin on her for the first time. As you can see, I've been spinning on her now, and there will be windy. It's windy. This first part is going to be just me taking you along for the ride of how I clean her up and try out spinning on this wheel for the first time. So the first step of this process is that I am wiping everything down with baby wipes because this has been sitting in my garage uncovered in its box, so it's all very dusty, and we're just going to give it all a nice wipe down. Okay, so here our bobbin is got a chunk broken out of it, so I sanded it and I'm gonna glue it with some wood glue, so hopefully that will make it usable again. So now in this section, I'm just wiping down all the wood parts of the wheel with a cutting board, oil, wax mixture, just what I had on hand that I've used on my other wheels. Seems to work really well just to condition the wheel and, well, condition the wood. So now we are at the fun part, and you can watch me struggle to assemble this wheel. I had assembled it once before when I first got it last fall, but for some reason I had a really hard time getting it to go together now. May have to do with it being in my garage over the damp winter. I probably should have let it sit inside the house for a day or two before I tried to put it together, but I was impatient to get it up and running and see if I could get it to spin. So we've now successfully assembled the wheel and moved into my cluttered living room. I apologize for that. Here I am struggling to get the drive band onto the wheel, and oops, pulled out the little leather that was holding my flyer on. So now I'm struggling to reinsert that leather piece. I realized I was trying to put it in sideways. Oops. And eventually we got it back in there. So now we can go back to the task of trying to tie on that drive band. I always struggled with my Ashford Traveler, and that was only a Scotch tension, so I only had to tie the drive band, loop it once, and now looping it twice was a little tricky, but you can see I finally got it. So now we get to the exciting part of spinning on this lovely old wheel. This is my first time ever spinning on a double drive wheel, let alone an antique wheel, and it seemed to go pretty well. She didn't seem to have any major problems, and as we went along, I decided this was quite fun. So last week I spun some yarn for the very first time on this antique Finnish spinning wheel. And today I'm going to try plying for the first time on a double drive wheel. So first, I only have one bobbin for this wheel, so I am going to make attempt to remove it from the bobbin. I'm going to see if I can just reel it off without taking the bobbin off. We'll see how that goes. And use my ball winder to make a center pull ball and try that for plying. So let's see how it goes. Okay, I was thinking, oh, that's going so well with no mishaps, and then my yarn broke. Well, maybe we'll do this with 2 balls. Okay, well that went almost as well as I'd hoped, besides me breaking the ply, but I guess now we have 2 balls. We'll see how that goes. I was happy that, well, A, my ball winder didn't work itself loose and fall off, and B, it didn't get tangled around the flyer or anything like that. Okay, so now we have some yarn that we can ply. So let me get set up for that. So I've got my wheel, and right now I have the drive band set for spinning clockwise. And according to the couple of videos I watched with double drive, you have to switch the cross on the drive band when you're going to ply or spin counterclockwise. So I guess we'll try it. The video said it was easy, just a matter of switching them. And I hope I'm doing it the right direction. I don't know. I guess we'll switch those 2, tighten it back up, and I guess we'll see if the drive band stays on. Chatty wheel. Okay, well, it's not throwing it off, so I guess we'll try plying. I'm loving how speedy this is to ply. This is one thing that drove me crazy about when I had my Ashford Traveler. It was an older, probably 80s Traveler, and Ashford really does, make lovely workhouse wheels. Workhorse wheels. I did have the jumbo bobbin. I like to be able to, have 2 full bobbins and then ply them onto the same bobbin, but the jumbo flyer was also just the two different ratios, and it was kind of slow and slower, so it did feel like plying took forever on that wheel. Since I got my Modulcraft, that was been improved, but man, this is just zippy. This plying is not going to be as lovely even on the bobbin as I managed to do. Managed to make the singles wind on much more evenly, but this isn't going to be quite as lovely on the plying end. So my plan for the antique wheel was probably just to store it in a box when I'm not using it, because I had been thinking that mostly what I would use it for was just My spinning guild every year does an antique spinning wheel showcase with one of the local museum. That's a kind of pioneer era museum. So every year they do an antique spinning wheel showcase. And so my thought was, ooh, I'll finally have an antique wheel that I can use and be part of the showcase. And then I'll probably store it away because this breaks all down into just the parts. And then I could store it away in a box somewhere out of the way the rest of the year. But this is so much fun to spin, and I don't know, I might have to find a place to keep her out that won't drive my husband and kids nuts. This is really fun to spin on. And I know my dad had lived in Finland in the early 1960s for a couple of years. And he bought 2 spinning wheels there and sent them back home. I have the other one also. However, the flyer for that one is somewhere in a safe place in my mom's house, my mom and dad's house. She had put it away when one of my sisters had lived with them for a while and had young sons, and mom was worried about it getting damaged, so it's in a safe place. And I don't know if other of you can relate to this, but with my mom, if she puts things into a safe place, you're lucky if you ever see it again, because it's such a safe place that it's even safe from her. So we have not been able to find the flyer for the other wheel. It's very similar to this. And this wheel was the one that was at my uncle's house. He passed away 2 or 3 years ago. So then last year when my aunt was selling her big house, moving into a place smaller, she reached out to me to see if I wanted it, because nobody in her family wanted it. And since it was complete and had its flyer, I jumped at the chance to be able to have have a working version of one of the wheels that my dad had got from Finland. I'm sure at some point we had talked with my dad to see where he got it, because when he was in Finland, he lived in probably 4 or 5 different cities. But if he told me what area he was in when he bought it, I didn't write it down, and I certainly don't remember, and my mom doesn't remember either. But it'd be interesting to find out if, there's any more information we can glean from people more knowledgeable about Finnish antique spinning wheels than I am. What my mom does remember is that my dad had thought when he bought them in the 1960s, he thought that at the time that they were at least 100 years old then, which I guess would make, if that's correct, assuming that's correct, then they'd probably be mid 19th century. And both of them definitely have signs of wear. On here, the flyer, there's grooves worn into the wood from the yarn, and there's definitely wear on the treadle. I'm going to have to see either my husband or my father-in-law. They both have lathes. So I might see if we can, make a few more wooden bobbins, or my husband also has a 3D printer and a resin printer. So we could just model up. I have not learned how to do it myself, so maybe that'd be a good opportunity to learn how to do the modeling in, I don't know, whatever software he used to model things for 3D printing. And then either 3D print or resin print a couple of bobbins. Obviously not visually as pleasing as wooden bobbins, but would be nice to have some extra bobbins. This end of this is tangled. So let's see, can I get it untangled, or are we just going to rip it off? It's only a tiny bit left. I don't know if it's worth untangling or not. Especially since this is just a random test skein that oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, I guess that's getting a little loose. Oh well.
are at the end. Okay, here we go. Well, that was fun, plying it up. I'll probably let it rest there on the bobbin till tomorrow so that it won't be quite so kinky when I wind it off onto my nitty naughty. All right, it is the next day, so our bobbin has rested. So let's skein off. Let's wind off this first yarn. My first yarn that I've ever spun and plied on my antique wheel. And normally on this PVC pipe nitty naughty that I made, I have this middle piece is about 16 inches. It has whatever book that I found though. The plans for this in. It was a spinning book. Can't remember which one. Anyways, I think that gave the dimensions to make a 2-yard skein. I decided this is going to be a little bit smaller skein, so I switched it out for a 12-inch piece. I don't know how many yards, I don't know exactly how big of a skein that will give, but it will be a little bit smaller. A little bit shorter of a skein. My plan for the end of this video was to show you the skein that we made, but I don't know where I put it. It must be in a very safe place. So this is where we'll end, and I'll see you in part 2 to show you the modifications I made to the wheel, and we'll tell you how those worked out. So see you next time. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!